Okay, so One Piece, King Charles and Reptilians Part 2, because I just went to upload the video, it's uploading now. And then I realized that I hadn't even explained what it is to do with the reptilians in particular and the significance of the reptilians and the royal family, Charles, whoever, being seen in Zimbabwe at the Zambezi River. I'm going to explain it now. So, sorry about that. I got distracted on another point, but it's all going to make all sense. We're all going along with it, okay? So here's the reason why I brought that up, right? The reason why I brought that up and the reason why I mentioned this particular story of Charles and whoever being known, again, they renamed that very waterfall in the one that goes into the Zambezi River that's between Zimbabwe and Zambia. They literally renamed it Victoria Falls. They renamed it, right? I was there. I saw it all in a billion K, whatever that is, right? Oh my gosh, it's all making so much sense now. Oh my gosh, it's making sense. Oh my gosh, it's all hitting me. I knew I was on the edge of a revelation. I could feel it a couple of days ago. And it's not even hit yet, but it's coming in, right? This just did. I can feel it. I can feel it. Because whenever I'm about to have a big revelation about something, I always feel very down for like a couple of weeks. And then the kingdom of darkness is like trying to beat the hell out of me, and then it just starts to anyway. So getting it now. Okay, so sorry guys, this is all happening in real time, so that's why I like to upload my videos in real time and I don't spend a lot of time editing and things like that. But anyway, also the fact that I don't really have the skill to do it, but anyway, it's not important. So here's the thing about the river and the Zimbabwe and the connection, because let's not forget as well the Scientology element, because L. Ron Hubbard, right, wanted to. Okay, so let me start with this reptilian. Let's start there first and foremost. The reason why I thought of that story is because if you look at the Zimbabwean flag, there is a bird on this flag, right? And the reason the bird is there is because historically, people in the nations around, because the names have changed over the years, right? Obviously, Zimbabwe and Zambia used to be connected and used to be called Rhodesia. Now they're split, Zimbabwe and Zambia. And I am indeed half Zimbabwean, half Zambian, everybody. Yeah, so that's why I thought a lot about that river, that Zambezi River that was there having a lovely sunset cruise on. Not knowing what was probably swimming in the waters, but it's everywhere, isn't it? Because all over the world there's things in the waters, which I keep talking about the waters, or actually going back to the floods of Noah, because anyway, you guys are going to see how this is all linking up together. So you guys see why I did that whole series of explaining the Bible and then explaining Noah, so that when we got here there wouldn't be confusion. Yeah, go and do your homework if you haven't actually watched those. Go and do the homework of watching the Explaining the Bible series and the freaking Noah's Ark series, please, because you understand all of this, and I've given context to everything there. Anyway, that bird ended up being selected to be on the flag and is essentially like worshipped, because that bird was the only bird that this particular now I can't remember if it was a crocodile or an alligator. I feel it was a crocodile. Anyway, that crocodile was the only thing that crocodile would let just sit on it and wouldn't attack was that bird. And so people started to worship that bird. So, and again, there's a lot of things to do with worshipping of specific animals, similar to like how in places like India, right, they don't really eat beef. A lot of people don't know that. I don't know if you've never been. That's why you don't really find a lot of beef in a lot of their meals. A lot of them are actually vegetarian. They actually, not all of them, but historically very much worship cows, right? And so, there's just a lot of interesting things in history. Isn't it interesting? They worship cows. It really leads me to things like the story of the golden calf in the Bible that the Israelites created when the Lord was bringing them from the wilderness into the promised land. And then they were like, bread, this is taking too long and we don't know about you, so we're going to try out some other gods because we is adulterous people. And that's why the Lord calls us adulterous. Now, so that's what made me make the connection between reptilian, because I thought, wait, Zimbabwe, Zimbabwe, the bird on the flag. The bird on the flag is there because people historically worshipped that bird because it was the only one that the crocodiles or whatever wouldn't attack. Crocodiles or alligators, water, Zambezi River, mermaids, water spirits, things in the water, the floods of Noah, 12,400 years ago, secrets, power, and then obviously the fact that the devil doesn't want whatever's happened after that. I know that whoever was there and whoever was around, working especially with the enemy, was making plans so that that type of situation, if they did, they could have the upper hand, and hence why I'm linking this with One Piece, because that's clearly what happened and is happening in One Piece, because anytime anybody figures anything out, because they're afraid of what's going to happen, if people figure out what really happened, I'm trying to figure out why are they so worried about that. And like I started to talk about in the part 1 of this whole thing, it was the fact I realized that there must be one of two things. It's either that the history that has been told for the last however many hundreds of years is just that much of a lie. And if that's the case, what is the truth then? In One Piece, of course, because we're only talking about One Piece, guys, let's be honest. Like, it's not about no crazy ideas. Come on, you know what I'm saying? YouTube, I'm just talking, don't worry, YouTube, I'm just talking about One Piece. So that's why I mentioned it. And that's why I linked it all together. And it's really interesting, like Zimbabwe as a place, because I was saying this to my friend, right? This is the thing. This is why I'm just out there in the clouds, you guys. This is what I've been thinking about at 4 a.m, so I can't sleep. So interesting story as well about Zimbabwe. Zimbabwe is considered landlocked, right? As a country. Technically true. If you look at a map of it with the like actual, where all of the water features are, the water that's there is visible, it looks like it has veins. There is water everywhere. And where there is water spirits. That's why I also think a lot about the United Kingdom, because it's such a small island, completely surrounded with water. Once again, right, you know, and a lot of big important things, again, surround water in the world in general. Like, so for example, like in this country, the River Thames. Here's some interesting information you guys didn't know. Let's go to Egypt for a moment. Do you know what ritual that they used to do, that Pharaoh used to do for fertility? Pharaoh and the other men. Do you know what they used to do? They used to. So it would start out with, right? I don't know how I find these information. It's because I just research, guys. All I do is research. I'm an obsessive researcher. Like, I'm literally that crazy scientist that just can't get off of a thing until I understand it fully, right? Ejaculate in the Nile River. That's exactly what Pharaoh would do. And then the other men would do it as well. That was their ritual to the gods of fertility. In where? The Nile River, the waters. So very interesting, isn't it? So very interesting. Or even, like I said, the Phoenicians, where our girl Jezebel comes from, because she's a Phoenician princess. Right? And what do we know of the Phoenicians? The Phoenicians, ironically, and I'm fascinated with them, not because of Jezebel, because it was later in life I discovered that she was a Phoenician. I'm interested in them because they're another group of people that has a lot of their history we don't know. And if you ask the historians, right, they always say, we don't really know a lot about the Phoenicians. We don't really know a lot about the Phoenicians. It's like, that's like the biggest, fattest flipping lie ever. I believe. They also try to say that this child sacrifice thing that was happening isn't even really real. Sorry, I completely forgot what I was saying, right? But I'm going to continue down on the thought track. So it's just interesting how all these things are to do with the waters, right? All over the world, right? There's a lot of things to do with these waters and the waters being connected to something, especially because if you look around the world, all over, and all these different tombs and catacombs and all these things that people look into, and pyramids and things, they've got these depictions that after a certain event that took place on a certain day, all of these sea people, these creatures that looked like so whatever, arose from the waters and came to help civilize places. One thing I find fascinating about the Western society is because the West, you know, based on the realities of history and where we are, certain groups of people were able to go on all of these voyages. Enter into the chat L. Ron Hubbard. Let's talk about L. Ron Hubbard again. If you've been here for a while, you know we have done so much on Scientology. I read all of the Dianetics and book up until the point of where we had already done all the other stuff, like how the reactive mind stuff, because we already did all of that. The bit before that led up to that, we read all of that all together. I read it to you all. Go and see that series if you like, that's your kind of thing. So I just had a rather good idea. Yeah, so there you go. Anyway, so L. Ron Hubbard, right? He's voyaged, and this is why I think these people that go on these voyages that are from these Western countries, this western side of the world, all of these people that did all of this voyaging and went around looking at places and visited here and there, I know for a fact that they went and they saw things that they don't want you guys to know about. Because this is why, like I said to you about L. Ron Hubbard, when he was writing in his book Dianetics, he would talk about the human mind, and then he would keep referencing these supernatural experiences that supposedly happened. He wouldn't say that he does believe that they happened, but he also wouldn't say that he didn't. He would more say that that's what they were doing, and that's what he would say that they were doing. In these places all over the world, they were seeing these supernatural types of things happening, which is what makes me believe that these voyagers, these people, not to mention again, who dominates in all of this archaeology of digging things up in other places all over the world, people from the West again. So why are the people from the West? Is what I'm saying links back to the Prince Charles thing and all these dynasties over here in the West, especially here in Europe, of what exactly was it that these ancestors of theirs have found throughout the years that they've chosen to hide or whatever, because they dominate when it comes to the archaeology. They're the ones that can afford or could have afforded in history to actually go on all of these trips to all these places all over the world and see how these cultures were behaving, which then puts them in the perfect position to come back and report whatever version of events they want to, which could obviously be a lie, but is most probably the truth, right? Because we live in a society where we can trust in our leaders and we can trust the people in power, because they are men and women of integrity. They are men and women of integrity and honesty and loyalty to their people. They're not selfish. If they have an extra dollar they can give to their people, if they have an extra pound, they have an extra euro they could give to anyone, they would. They're doing their very best. So we can trust that every single version of events that they have brought and come to tell us is absolutely correct. They say it's a myth and it's a fable. Well, then it's a myth and it's a fable. They say it's the truth. Oh, then it's the truth. If they said 2 + 2 = 5, 2 + 2 = 5, because how can you be alive and not realize that these people would never tell you guys the lies? Because this is what they do, right? They're so trustworthy, and all these voyages that they did and observing all these things and all these tombs and catacombs and all these things and all this archaeology, they can come and tell us their version of history. But I'm sure they'll tell us the truth, because of course that's what they do. Yeah, that's what I'm trying to say. Like, you guys understand? Are we listening or are we listening? Are our ears open? This is why I love when the Bible, when God says, those who have ears, let them hear. Because it's like, just because you got ears ain't mean you're using them. And I even gave you 2 of them. You be quick to use that mouth. I gave you 1. I gave you 2 ears. You ain't even trying to use those. You got 2 eyes, you ain't even trying to use those, but you're quick to use this thing, and I only gave you 1 of them. Because that's smart. You even have 2 nostrils. Of all of our senses, the only thing that we technically have only 1 of, if you think about it, is our mouth. So, just things to think about, just things to think about. Just things to think. Like, this is what I'm saying. When I'm at school, I'm like, okay, you guys are telling me this is how I'm supposed to live. This is a myth. This is a fable. Says who? Says who? Right? And this is why I think the English language in and of itself is very manipulative. Words like religions, that being like a side thing, that being like another thing that I checked off the box, as if it's just like a choice and not a truth or a lie. It's just a choice. I'm Christian, I'm Muslim, I'm atheist, I'm whatever. So I truly believe that that's what they did, because that's what I feel L. Ron Hubbard did. That's what I learned from L. Ron Hubbard. L. Ron Hubbard taught me what he did is he went out. This is what I truly believe. He went out, and the reason why I mentioned L. Ron Hubbard going back to Zimbabwe again is because he wanted to make Rhodesia, which was Zimbabwe and Zambia together, he wanted to make Rhodesia the first ever place to be the first Scientology country. It's almost as if he knew there was something to gain from whatever was happening in a place that, again, is perfect. No one's ever going to suspect that. It's landlocked. Oh, right. Until you look at a map of the place as itself and look for a map with rivers in it, guys. With all the rivers and showing. And it's like it's got veins. It's completely got water everywhere. And now I know why I've dealt with such heinous people. And it's like this. It's like everywhere in the world is like that, by the way. It's just same text, different font. And it also, depending on what gods and what we want to get from said gods, because obviously places where I come from, you can mine gold, diamond, aluminium, copper, lithium, some of the most important things there. So, yeah. Yeah, and that's actually why, and it's ironic that if I even mentioned that because L. Ron Hubbard also said, can you just see how all the whole world, everything just connects together? L. Ron Hubbard, who also happens to have grown up right near where I grew up. His house is right near where I grew up. Oh, it scares me sometimes when I think about these things. So I think, is it just like the spirits are just attracting each other to each other? Like, because that's what's scaring me a little bit about the whole thing. But anyway, L. Ron Hubbard, what was I going to say? Believed in his past life that he was like Cecil Rhodes. Well, who was Cecil Rhodes? Cecil Rhodes, Rhodesia, the guy who came and colonized that area, now known as Zimbabwe and Zambia, used to be known as Rhodesia. And what did Cecil Rhodes do? Well, let me tell you a little story about Ceci, right? I've talked about this stuff before, but I'm just linking it all together so you guys can see how, like, can you see how everything we always do, there's not a moment wasted on this channel, just to say. Super high efficient use of your time being here, just like to say. Yeah, what did he do? Oh, he came because, why did he come? Oh yeah, because he was sick and he found that his sickness was better when he came to Africa, no surprise. And then he discovered, he was working on, I can't remember what he was working on doing first, but then he discovered gold mining, or was it diamond? No, it was diamonds. And then I think it was diamonds. And then he just capitalized off of it, created a business for himself, became filthy freaking rich. He came from, where did he come from? I think he came from England as well, Cecil Rhodes. So yeah, L. Ron Hubbard believes that he was Cecil Rhodes in his past life. Isn't that ironic? And he wanted to turn Zimbabwe into the place of Scientology, the first Scientological country. Isn't that ironic? Isn't that ironic how the Zambezi River has been said to have mermaids? Isn't that ironic? Isn't that ironic how, there's a girl who's like me, who has a similar story to mine, who tells stories, who's been completely shunned and isolated both from her family, from the internet, from everything, is considered to be crazy, who saw members of the royal family who came there. And isn't that also ironic at the same time when that same exact river that she's talking about, which used to be called Mosi Atunya, which means the smoke which thunders, is also now called the Victoria Falls? Isn't that ironic? Isn't that so interesting? But obviously we're just talking about One Piece. Anyways, you guys, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you've been enjoying these videos today because they just hit different on the Sabbath. I don't know. Listen, take your time away with the Lord. Take your time away. Because after I'm done with my videos, listen, I'm about to be living my life this weekend, enjoying myself. So I do. I enjoy the Sabbath of the Lord, and then I come off the high, enjoy the rest of my weekend, laughing, watching stupid videos, eating good food, chillaxing, before we have to obviously get back to, this freaking mess of the world that we have to deal with on Monday morning. Okay, everyone, if life's a game. But isn't this so interesting? Like, isn't this actually crazy, though? Like, if for those of you who've been here for long enough, can you see how the dots are just, you know what's funny about dots and dot to dot? You know those dot to dot games? Not the dot to dot games, the dot to dot drawings, where there's different dots and you have to join the dots and all of a sudden it creates a picture. That's knowledge. That's why the Bible says in Hosea 4:6, my people perish for a lack of knowledge. We got to get all the dots and we got to start connecting. Connect this, connect that, connect this, connect that. Because I have thoughts. There's certain countries I specifically haven't mentioned yet, like the United States, for one, for reasons that I'm not going to get into today, and the Middle East. But I have thoughts on how that all factors into all of this as well, even South America's. Because again, ironically, the pastor that was talking about how he was taking these pastors to the waters to sacrifice things to the water people, he learned his skills from a man that he met in none other than Colombia, who invited him to a group chat and gave him the whistle-stop tour in witchcraft and taught him how to do the things he was supposed to do. This man from Kenya, who was in a group chat with a guy from Colombia, who was then flying to, like, where did he go? Can't remember. I haven't finished watching his whole video. It's like a really long video. I'm just saying. I'm just saying. But of course, we're just talking about One Piece. Because if life's a game, let's play to win. God bless you. God loves you. I love you. And I'll see you in my next one.